Can you think of anything in your life that could be described as kind of a pain in the butt, but possibly fun? I can think of some things like, life! Sega CD is another good one for that category too. Big thing that attaches to the Sega Genesis, requires its own power supply, and requires its own price tag since you gotta buy it separately, which was especially a bummer back in the day, but a bummer with a simple solution for many: just give up on it. Same solution I had for getting good grades in school. Hey, I can spell the word rhythm at least. How dumb can I be? While the Sega Genesis can, and certainly has, been enjoyed by many honest gamers alike without a Sega CD attached, the Genesis holds its own, I'd argue that the Sega CD can add even more to the fun, if you're looking for it. And whether you're looking for it and want to see if some internet dude, me's top 5 games has you intrigued, or already enjoy the Sega CD and are just curious how my top 5 lines up with your list, here are my top 5 games, starting with number 5, Ecco the Dolphin CD. To which, right away, some of you might be thinking, wait a second, isn't that a Sega Genesis game? To which I'd say it sure is, and get used to it, because many of the Sega CD's best games are really cool versions of games available on other systems. Remember, I said the Sega CD can be really fun, but not necessary. But with that out of the way, some of you might be thinking, wait a second, I don't like video games where you play as a dolphin. To which I'd say you're probably a lost cause, but why not? I thought dolphins were one of the most universally loved things in existence. Flipper, Ace Ventura, come on, why not a video game where you play as one? We don't need to destroy stuff in every video game, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but my thoughts are more complex than me bad boy wanna see stuff go boom boom. But even still, you can ram enemies with your nose in this game. Granted, the controls can take some getting used to, but there's a magical game waiting on the other side if you can. Seriously, there is no game like this. Trying to find Ecco's family, and the final boss is one of the scariest final bosses I think I've ever seen. But being an underwater adventure, no game hits quite like this one, and the music really takes it to another level, which the Sega CD version has its own CD quality soundtrack that truly is awesome. The Genesis and Super Nintendo had some banger soundtracks to be sure, but playing classic 16-bit games with CD quality soundtracks is just a special experience. Not necessary, but really cool and different, like banana split Oreos. Actually, bad example, those are necessary. Next up, at number 4, we've got Batman Returns, specifically just the Batmobile sections, which were not in the regular Genesis version of the game. The game gives you the option to just play the Batmobile sections too, utilizing the Sega CD's ability to scale sprites. Plus, what is cooler than the Batmobile? Basically nothing, right? Well, except for maybe my bread bag clip collection. You think I'd trade these for a Batmobile? Huh! In your dreams, Batman. The result is a very arcade-like experience, which, you know how we feel about those. Thumbs up. Besides making you feel like you're taking advantage of what the Sega CD has to offer, it's very easy to pick up and play, have a blast, and then move on with your life. Unlike some of the longer games that hate your bedtime and responsibilities, this game says, don't worry, buddy, I'll leave you some time to scrub the toilet. And that's just the kind of game Batman Returns for Sega CD is. Next up, at number 3, we've got Robo Aleste. In my opinion, the best shoot 'em up for the Sega CD, and a great complement to the already great lineup of Genesis shoot 'em ups. As its name would imply, this is part of the Aleste series, which is why the game might seem similar to Musha on Genesis, with its full name being Musha Aleste, though many may know it by a different title. I feel confident this game will please fans of shoot 'em ups. It's got everything you'd want. Cool weapons, sub-weapons, stage designs, bosses, plenty of challenge. The soundtrack is solid, but perhaps most important of all, lots of bad stuff that goes boom boom. I will say that the enemy bullets can be kind of hard to keep track of at times, but hey, you'll get better at it. This is kind of an expensive game for the Sega CD though, so maybe just buy some of the cheaper shoot 'em ups. Kind of a counterpoint to putting it on my list, but hey, I'm just being honest with you. And if you're getting into Sega CD collecting, you are probably expecting your wallet to get hammered at some point anyway. But in case you weren't, might I suggest my next game coming at number 2? Final Fight. If you're just buying the disc, not bad at all in the price department, which I'd suggest unless you like collecting ratty cardboard or are willing to splurge for non-ratty cardboard. And right away, some people might be thinking Final Fight has been ported and slapped into various compilations a million times, so why go through all the trouble to play the Sega CD version? Now just imagine how much more enjoyable that could have been playing Final Fight to that music instead of watching some dork dance to it. I'm telling you, the soundtrack really puts this version over the top, to the point it's my favorite version of the game to play. Fun fact about me, I've played the original Final Fight a ton. Maybe just a fact if you didn't find that fun, but I do swear by this version. As for the game of Final Fight itself, like many beat-em-ups, it often gets misunderstood as a button masher where you constantly die, but don't play that way. Learn how to prevent yourself from taking hits with proper spacing and risk-reward strategy, and the game becomes far more engaging on a moment-to-moment basis. Love this one. Well-earned number 2 spot. But now for my number 1 spot. Some might tell you to pop in your favorite Alanis Morissette CD, as the Sega CD could play music CDs, but my number 1 game would be the almighty Snatcher. And not only is this my favorite Sega CD game, but this is one of my absolute favorite video games of all time. I just find the story to be so fun and engaging. I'm not even a fan of point-and-click games normally, which is what this game more or less is. The combination of Blade Runner and Terminator influences is great, and I just find myself wanting to go back to this world every few years. Plus, the fact that it was all realized so well in pixel art form, my goodness. The point-and-click elements of the game might frustrate some people, so be wary of that, or just look up a guide, I guess, but what a ride this game is. Made by Hideo Kojima, this might be my favorite game of his, which is saying a lot. And like pretty much every game on the list, the CD format for music was not wasted here. Absolutely incredible soundtrack, and some of the tracks from near the end of the game have never left me. One of the better things that's never left me, honestly. Sometimes I think about this one time I was an idiot in high school, and it makes me feel like an idiot now. Anybody else ever get that? Can't really recommend buying this game, unfortunately. Price is totally out of control at this point, in part because the Sega CD version is the only English version they ever made. I can't even get a spare manual to buy for this thing. I've asked around a bit and feel like I'd have better luck asking for a magical potion that can make me fly. But if you're not looking to purchase anything, there are ways to simply play the game if that's what you're interested in, which I think you should be. This is one of those games I could have so easily just passed over, and I'm so glad I didn't. Earns my number 1 spot with shining stars. So there we have it. Those are my top 5 Sega CD games. 5 great games for a console you don't need to own, but a lot of fun to be had if you do. If you're a fan of the system, I'd be curious what your top 5 games would be, as well as what you think of my top 5. Wait, I forgot Sonic CD, darn it. Well, sorry Echo, but I'm putting Sonic CD at number 3 and sliding everything back. A bit different from other classic Sonic games, with more of an emphasis on exploration, but I do enjoy the game and looking for those pesky pastime warpers and robot generators you gotta destroy. But there we go. Let me know your top 5 plus one game you forgot. I'd imagine some will mention stuff like Shining Force and the Lunar games, maybe Popful Mail, and I will see ya in the next video.
He's the retro bird, yeah, and he's talking about video games. He's the retro